The dimensional tear opened on a Tuesday afternoon, which seemed appropriate somehow. Tuesdays were when the world ended in the most mundane ways. The sky above Musutafu didn't explode or catch fire. It simply cracked, like someone had taken a hammer to reality itself. Homelander emerged from the rift with cape billowing and that trademark smile plastered across his face. He hung in the air for a moment, surveying his new kingdom, and the portal sealed shut behind him with a sound like 1,000 mirrors shattering. "Jesus Christ," he muttered, taking in the bizarre skyline. "Where the hell did Vought send me now?" Down below, civilians stopped mid-stride. Phones came out immediately, because of course they did. Homelander's smile widened. At least some things were universal. He floated down to street level, boots touching pavement with barely a sound. The crowd gathered quickly, keeping that perfect distance, close enough to record, far enough to run. "Hey there, folks," Homelander called out, voice carrying that manufactured warmth he'd perfected over years of PR training. "I know this is sudden, but I'm looking for whoever's in charge around here. Your top hero, your government, whatever. Point me in the right direction, and we'll get this all sorted out." An elderly man stepped forward cautiously. Are you American? Your costume. American and proud of it." Homelander tapped the eagle on his chest. "I'm Homelander, the world's greatest superhero. Well, my world's greatest superhero. Still figuring out what happened there." "Your quirk brought you here?" a younger woman asked, phone still recording. "My what?" "Your quirk, your power." Homelander's expression flickered. Confusion, then something calculating. "Right, yeah, my quirk. Listen, I need to speak with your hero organization, now. I'm assuming you people have heroes here?" Before anyone could answer, Mount Lady came crashing around the corner at full size, followed by Kamui Woods, swinging from a street lamp. They positioned themselves between Homelander and the civilians with practiced efficiency. "All right, buddy," Mount Lady announced, trying to project authority despite the uncertainty in her eyes. "Unauthorized portal quirk use, public disturbance, and you're not registered in any hero database. We're going to need you to come with us." Homelander's smile never wavered, but something cold crept into his eyes. "I'm sorry, did you just call me buddy? Do I look like your buddy?" He floated up to meet Mount. "Lady at eye level. I'm trying to be polite here. Professional courtesy, hero to hero, but you're making it very difficult. Sir, we have protocols." "Fuck your protocols." The profanity hit like a slap. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take me to whoever runs this operation. Your boss, your commission, your president, I don't care. And you're going to do it nicely, because the alternative is me finding them myself, and I guarantee you don't want that." His eyes began to glow red. Kamui Woods' branches tensed. "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise, branch manager." Homelander's laser vision flared brighter. "But fine, let's do this your way." He moved, not fast enough to kill. He wasn't a villain after all, but fast enough to make his point. One moment he was floating in front of Mount Lady, the next he disarmed both heroes and bound them with Kamui Woods' own branches. They crashed to the ground, shocked and terrified. Homelander dusted off his gloves. "Now, someone get me a phone, a government official, or directions to your hero headquarters, and be quick about it. My patience is not unlimited." The Hero Public Safety Commission's emergency protocols had never been tested like this. Within 30 minutes of the initial contact, Every top hero was being briefed on the situation. Within an hour, Homelander was sitting in their headquarters, looking bored, while security systems designed to contain All for One himself were activated around him. He'd come willingly, which somehow made it worse. Madam President studied him through bulletproof glass, Hawks standing beside her with wings twitching in agitation. "His power readings are insane," a technician reported. "Flight, super strength, invulnerability, heat vision, super hearing, enhanced speed. And those are just the quirks we've identified. But there's no energy signature. It's like his body just does these things naturally." "Because I'm not from here," Hawks muttered, gold eyes never leaving Homelander's relaxed form. "That portal, the way he talks, this guy's from another dimension." "Which makes him either the answer to our prayers or the beginning of the end," Madam President replied. She straightened her jacket. "Let's find out which." She entered the room alone. Homelander didn't stand, a deliberate disrespect. "Mr. Homelander, I know who you are, super hearing." He tapped his ear. "You've been talking about me for the last 20 minutes. Little tip. If you're going to discuss whether someone's a threat, maybe do it more than 30 feet away from someone who can hear a mouse fart from 2 miles out." Madam President didn't react. "You claim to be a hero." "I don't claim shit. I am a hero. 7-time superhero of the year, leader of the 7, saved more people than everyone in this building combined." He leaned forward. "Question is, are you going to work with me or against me? That depends on whether you're willing to follow our laws." "Laws?" Homelander laughed. "Lady, where I come from, I was the law. Vought International, the government, the military, they all answered to me, because I'm what everyone else wishes they could be. In Japan, even All Might himself had to—" "All Might?" Homelander's interest sharpened. "Keep hearing that name. Who is he? Your top guy?" "Was. He's retired now." A slow smile spread across Homelander's face. "Retired, so there's an opening." He stood, and despite the dozen weapons trained on him, despite the reinforced walls and suppression technology, he moved with absolute confidence. "Perfect. I'll take his spot. Consider this my application." "It doesn't work like that." "It does now." His eyes glowed red. "See, here's what you don't understand yet. I'm not asking for permission. I'm informing you of reality. I'm the most powerful being in this room, probably in this country, maybe on this planet. You can either accept that and let me help, or you can fight it and learn the hard way that you can't stop me." The temperature in the room dropped. "Is that a threat, Mr. Homelander?" "It's an observation." The glow faded from his eyes. "But hey, I'm a team player. I'll play your little game. Give me whatever tests you want, whatever hoops you need me to jump through. I'll ace them all, and then you'll give me what I deserve, the #1 spot, and the respect that comes with it." Madam President considered him for a long moment. "Very well. If you want to be a hero in Japan, you'll undergo the same evaluation as everyone else. That means a probationary period, supervised missions, and I'll be the best hero you've ever seen." Homelander's smile returned, bright and empty. "Just point me at the villains and watch me work." News of the American Superman spread through UA High School faster than Ida could sprint. Class 1A gathered around phones during lunch, watching footage of Homelander's arrest of Mount Lady and Kamui Woods. "Dude moved so fast," Kaminari exclaimed. "And did you see his costume? Very classic superhero aesthetic." "He's strong. I'll give him that, Kirishima added, but taking down heroes seems pretty unmanly. Bakugo snorted from his seat. They were in his way. What was he supposed to do? Politely ask them to move? Not hospitalize them, Ida said sharply, adjusting his glasses. A true hero would have de-escalated the situation. But Midoriya was silent, rewatching the footage for the 7th time. Something about Homelander's body language, the casual cruelty in how he'd handled Mount Lady, the empty smile that never reached his eyes, it all screamed danger. Deku? Uraraka touched his shoulder gently. You okay? Something's wrong with him, Midoriya said quietly. Did you see how he moved? It wasn't just confidence, it was contempt. He looked at Mount Lady like she was an insect. And that smile? You've been spending too much time analyzing villains, Todoroki said, but there was curiosity in his voice. What are you seeing? Midoriya pulled up another clip. Homelander talking to the commission. Watch his micro-expressions. Every time someone questions him, there's this flash of rage before the smile comes back. And the way he talks about power, about being the best. It's not heroic pride, it's narcissism. Extreme narcissism combined with God-level power. So you think he's dangerous? Kirishima asked. I think we should be very, very careful around him. Midoriya's green eyes were intense. Because I've seen villains before. Shigaraki, Overhaul, even Stain. They all believed they were right. But this guy? He believes he's superior to everyone, and people who think like that with that much power. He trailed off, but the implication hung heavy. Bakugo stood abruptly. Then I'll just have to show this American bastard what Japanese heroes are made of. Kachan, wait. But Bakugo was already storming out, determination in every step. Midoriya exchanged worried glances with Todoroki and Uraraka. This is going to end badly, Todoroki observed. Yeah, Midoriya agreed, but maybe not the way we think. Homelander's first supervised mission came 2 days later. A relatively simple villain attack, Getten, a meta-liberation warrior with ice manipulation, had taken over a mall in Kamino Ward. Local heroes were establishing a perimeter when Homelander arrived. Endeavor was already there, flames blazing, clearly intending to handle this himself. His eyes narrowed when he saw Homelander descending from the sky. This is my jurisdiction, Endeavor growled, and I'm here to help. Homelander's smile was all teeth. Relax, flaming hot Cheeto. There's enough glory to go around. You will address me with respect. I'm the #1 hero in Japan. For now. Homelander's eyes began to glow. Tell you what, let's make this a competition. Whoever takes down the villain gets bragging rights, unless you're scared? Endeavor's flames intensified. Fine, but when I win, you'll show proper deference to... Homelander didn't wait for him to finish. He shot forward like a missile, crashing through the mall's glass ceiling directly into the fray. Endeavor cursed and followed, but Homelander had a 30-second head start. Inside, Getten had frozen the central atrium, civilians trapped in ice cocoons. He stood atop a throne of glacial spikes, confident and ready. Another hero? Getten laughed. The liberation of quirks means I don't have to hold back anymore. Let me show you true... Homelander's heat vision cut through 3 of Getten's ice pillars in one sweep. Yeah, villain speech. Heard it all before. Here's how this goes. You surrender now. I look good for the cameras. Everybody wins. Except you, obviously. Getten's expression shifted from confident to concerned. He launched a wave of ice shards, each one sharp enough to pierce steel. Homelander didn't even try to dodge. The ice shattered against his body like snow hitting pavement. "My turn," Homelander said, and moved. He'd meant to be surgical. Really, he had. A precise strike to knock Getten unconscious, maybe shatter his ice throne for dramatic effect. But the rage that lived beneath his perfect smile surged up, and his punch carried too much force. Getten flew backward through 4 support columns, bones breaking, blood trailing. He slammed into the wall hard enough to crack concrete. "Oops," Homelander said without remorse. "Guess I don't know my own strength yet." That's when Endeavor burst through, fire trailing. He took in the scene instantly, the destroyed mall, the barely conscious villain, Homelander standing in the wreckage with that infuriating smile. "You could have killed him," Endeavor roared. "But I didn't. He's still breathing. Barely, but that counts." Homelander floated over to the frozen civilians and used precise heat vision bursts to melt their prisons. 23 hostages saved, villain neutralized, property damage. Well, that's what insurance is for. I'd call this a win. This isn't how we do things in Japan. Then maybe Japan's been doing it wrong. Homelander landed in front of Endeavor, close enough that their faces were inches apart. "You want to lecture me about being a hero? You who terrorized your own family to create the perfect successor? Yeah, I've got super hearing, remember? I've heard the whispers, the rumors. You're no saint, Endeavor, so don't act like you've got the moral high ground here." Endeavor's flames died down, shock replacing rage. "That's what I thought." Homelander patted his shoulder condescendingly. "We're all playing the same game, buddy. I'm just honest about it." He flew off, leaving Endeavor standing in the ruins, questioning everything he thought he knew about heroes and himself. The footage went viral immediately. Not the heroic rescue, the excessive force, the casual violence, the way Homelander had spoken to Endeavor like he was nothing. Public opinion split instantly. Some praised his efficiency, no hostages died, the villain was caught. Others were horrified by the brutality, the disregard for protocol. But everyone agreed on one thing. Homelander was powerful, dangerously so. At UA, Class 1A watched the footage during homeroom, Aizawa letting them see what they'd be facing in the real world. "This," Aizawa said, voice flat, "is what happens when power isn't matched by responsibility, or empathy, or basic human decency." He paused the video on Homelander's smile, that empty, perfect smile. "The Commission is still evaluating him, but I want you all to understand something. This man is more dangerous than any villain you've faced because he believes he's the hero. And people who believe they can do no wrong are capable of anything. So what do we do if we encounter him?" Yaoyorozu asked. "You run," Aizawa said bluntly. "You're not ready for something like him. Even All Might in his prime would have struggled against someone this powerful and this unstable." "That's bullshit," Bakugo slammed his desk. "You're telling us to run from some American asshole with a god complex? I'm telling you to survive." Aizawa's eyes glowed red, quirk activation silencing the class. "Pride gets heroes killed. Remember that." But Bakugo's eyes were burning with determination, and Midoriya knew his childhood friend well enough to recognize that look. Bakugo was going to challenge Homelander. It was only a matter of time. The meeting happened sooner than anyone expected. 3 days after the mall incident, Homelander was doing a PR flight over Musutafu, waving at cameras, performing aerial stunts, basking in attention, when he spotted someone following him. A kid, teenager maybe. Blonde, spiky hair, wearing some kind of combat uniform with ridiculous orange grenade-looking bracers. And he was flying. Well, exploding himself through the air, but same difference. Homelander stopped mid-flight, hovering as the kid caught up. "Can I help you, Junior?" "Fight me," Bakugo snarled. "Right here, right now. I'll show you what a real hero looks like." Homelander laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh my God, that's adorable. What are you, 16? 17? I'm 16 and I'll kick your ass." Bakugo's hands crackled with explosions. "You think you're so great? Prove it. Kid, I could sneeze and knock you out of the sky." But there was something in Bakugo's eyes, that absolute refusal to back down, that Homelander recognized. It was the look of someone who'd never been truly powerless, who'd never learned what it meant to face something you absolutely could not beat. Time to teach him. "Fine," Homelander said. "You want a demonstration? You got it. Try to hit me. Go on, give it your best shot." Bakugo didn't hesitate. "Die!" He launched forward with explosive propulsion, palm thrust aimed directly at Homelander's face with enough force to shatter concrete. Homelander didn't move. The explosion connected dead center, smoke and fire engulfing them both. When it cleared, Homelander hadn't budged an inch. His costume wasn't even singed. "That it?" Homelander asked, bored. Bakugo's eyes widened, genuine shock, before rage overtook him. "Like hell that's it." He unleashed everything, explosion after explosion, each one powerful enough to bring down buildings. He circled Homelander in a whirlwind of firepower, attacking from every angle, putting every ounce of strength and skill into his assault. Homelander yawned. When Bakugo finally exhausted himself, hands smoking, breathing hard, Homelander hadn't moved at all. He hovered there, pristine and untouched, looking mildly disappointed. "You done?" Homelander asked. "Good, my turn." He flicked Bakugo's forehead. The teenager went rocketing backward like a missile, tumbling through the air before barely catching himself with explosive bursts. He steadied himself 100 feet away, pride wounded worse than his body. "What the hell are you?" Bakugo gasped. "I'm everything you'll never be," Homelander replied. "But hey, points for trying. Most people don't have the balls to even challenge me." He floated closer, voice dropping. "Here's some free advice, kid. There's always going to be someone stronger than you. Always. The question is whether you're smart enough to recognize it and get out of the way." "Fuck that!" Bakugo charged again, pride overriding survival instinct. Homelander sighed and caught him by the collar with one hand, stopping his momentum instantly. "You know what? I like you. You've got spirit. Stupid, suicidal spirit, but spirit nonetheless." He pulled Bakugo close. "But if you ever challenge me again, I won't be this nice. Understand?" For the first time in his life, Bakugo felt real fear. Not the adrenaline rush of facing a villain, not the nervous energy of a difficult test, but genuine primal terror at realizing he was completely powerless. "I understand," he forced out. "Good boy." Homelander released him. "Now, run along back to Hero School or wherever. Tell your friends Homelander says hi." He flew off, leaving Bakugo hovering in shock, ego shattered, hands trembling with suppressed rage and newfound fear. Bakugo didn't tell anyone what happened, not directly. But when he returned to the dorms that evening, quiet and withdrawn, his classmates knew something had gone terribly wrong. Midoriya found him on the roof later that night, staring at the city lights. Kachan. Don't, Bakugo cut him off. Just don't. Midoriya sat down beside him anyway, giving him space but staying close. They sat in silence for several minutes before Bakugo spoke. He didn't even try, Deku. His voice was hollow. I hit him with everything, every technique, every combo, maximum power. He didn't move, didn't defend himself, just took it, like I was a mosquito. I'm sorry, Midoriya said quietly. And then he flicked me. Bakugo's hands clenched. Flicked me, like I was nothing, like I was... He trailed off, unable to finish. Like you were powerless. Midoriya finished gently. He understood that feeling intimately. Kachan, you're one of the strongest people I know, but Homelander, he's not from here. His power level is beyond anything we've encountered. Even All Might have struggled. Then how do we beat him? The question hung in the air, because that was the real issue, wasn't it? Bakugo had asked, how do we beat him? Not, can we beat him? Because in his mind, there was no such thing as an unbeatable opponent. I don't know, Midoriya admitted. But if he's as dangerous as I think he is, we're going to need to figure it out, because people like him don't stay heroes forever. Eventually, the mask slips. You think he's going to go villain? I think he already is one. He just hasn't realized it yet. Part 2. The mask cracks. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of Homelander playing hero, racking up villain captures and rescue missions, slowly climbing the hero rankings through sheer force and showmanship. The Commission kept him on a tight leash, supervised missions only, strict media protocols, constant monitoring. He hated every second of it. But Homelander was patient. He'd spent years at Vought dealing with handlers and PR teams. He knew how to smile, how to wave, how to say the right things. All he needed was to get popular enough, powerful enough in the public eye, that they'd have to give him freedom. Then he could do whatever he wanted. The cracks started showing during a hostage situation at a television studio. A villain with a duplication quirk, twice recently escaped from villain rehabilitation, had taken over the building, demanding the release of the League of Villains' remaining members. Homelander arrived with Mirko and Best Jeanist, the latter assigned specifically to keep him in check. Remember, Best Jeanist said as they approached, his fiber quirk ready. Minimize casualties, prioritize hostages, follow protocol. Yeah, I got it. Homelander rolled his eyes behind his mask. You people and your protocols, just stay out of my way. He crashed through a window before they could stop him. Inside, Twice's clones filled the studio. Dozens of them, each arguing with himself in that schizophrenic way of his. Hostages huddled in the corner, cameras still rolling, broadcasting everything live. Oh great, another hero. One Twice said, just what we needed. Actually, I'm glad you're here, another Twice added. This place was getting boring. Homelander surveyed the situation with X-ray vision. 32 hostages, 47, Twice clones, and the original hiding behind a support beam on the second floor. Easy. Here's what's going to happen, Homelander announced, loud enough for the cameras to catch. You're going to release the hostages, surrender quietly, and I won't turn you into a greasy smear on the wall. Sound fair? Fair. Nothing's fair. Twice's clones charged from all directions. Homelander sighed and activated his heat vision. What happened next was caught on live television. Homelander didn't incapacitate the clones. He obliterated them. Heat vision at full power, sweeping through the studio like a scythe, cutting down clone after clone with lethal precision. The clones vanished in puffs of smoke when destroyed, but the way Homelander did it, the casual brutality, the slight smile on his face, was horrifying. "Stop!" One hostage screamed. "Please, you're going to hit us." Homelander paused, irritation crossing his features. "I have perfect aim. I'm not going to—" A clone tackled him from behind. Not effective, but annoying. Homelander spun, grabbed the clone by the throat, and for just a moment, one single moment, his control slipped. He squeezed. The clone's neck crunched, and before it could vanish, everyone saw the pure rage on Homelander's face, the absolute fury at being touched, being challenged, being anything less than worshipped. Then the clone poofed away, and his mask snapped back into place. "Anyway," Homelander continued, voice cheerful again, "where were we?" But the damage was done. That moment of unfiltered rage had been broadcast to millions, and people were starting to ask questions. Mirko and Best Jeanist arrived just as Homelander located the real twice and dragged him out by his collar. The villain was babbling, switching between personalities, clearly terrified. "Got him," Homelander announced. "All hostages safe. You're welcome." Best Jeanist's eyes were hard behind his denim collar. "We need to talk about your methods." "My methods got results." "Your methods scared those hostages more than the villain did." Homelander's smile tightened. "Are they alive?" "Yes, but—" "Then I did my job." He shoved twice toward Mirko. "You know what your problem is, all of you? You're so busy worrying about feelings and optics that you forget what actually matters, winning, stopping the bad guys, saving the day." "At what cost?" Mirko demanded, nose twitching with barely controlled anger. "At any cost," Homelander replied. "Because that's what real heroes do. They make the hard calls. They get dirty so everyone else can stay clean." He floated upward. "But hey, you all keep playing nice. I'm sure the villains will really appreciate it." He flew away, leaving the heroes standing in the wreckage, the footage already going viral. Public opinion beginning to shift. The hero. Public Safety Commission called an emergency meeting that night. Every top hero attended. Endeavor, Hawks, Mirko, Best Jeanist, Edgeshot, even All Might came out of retirement to weigh in. They gathered in a secure conference room, while technicians played footage of Homelander's various missions. "He's a liability," Mirko said bluntly. "Today proved it. He doesn't care about the people he's saving. He cares about winning." "Agreed," Best Jeanist added. "His psychology is concerning. Narcissistic personality disorder at minimum, possibly sociopathic tendencies." "But he's effective," Hawks countered, playing devil's advocate. 37 villain captures in 3 weeks, 0 hero casualties on his missions, dozens of civilian rescues. By the numbers, he's the best hero we've had since All Might retired. "Numbers don't tell the whole story," All Might said quietly. His skeletal form looked even more fragile under the harsh lights. "I've watched his footage, every clip, and what I see isn't a hero. It's someone playing a role. There's no genuine desire to help, no compassion, just ego wrapped in patriotic colors." "So what do we do?" Madam President asked. "We can't arrest him. He hasn't technically broken any laws. We can't defeat him. He's too powerful. And we can't exile him because we don't know how he got here or how to send him back." "We contain him," Endeavor said. Everyone turned to look at him. Not physically, psychologically. He craves validation, attention, worship. We give it to him, but on our terms. Keep him satisfied, keep him monitored, and wait for an opportunity. An opportunity for what? Hawks asked. To stop him, permanently, if necessary. The room fell silent. They all knew what Endeavor was suggesting. If Homelander went rogue, when, not if, they'd need to kill him. The question was whether they could. I've been analyzing his powers, a technician said, pulling up holographic displays. Flight, super strength, invulnerability, heat vision, X-ray vision, superhuman hearing. The list goes on. But there has to be a weakness. Every quirk has limitations. He's not from here, Hawks reminded them. Whatever he is, quirks might not apply. We could be dealing with something fundamentally different. Then we experiment, Best Jeanist suggested. Carefully, find his limits, and prepare for the worst. All Might stood slowly. If I may, there's one person who might be able to reach him, someone who understands power without understanding cruelty, someone he might actually listen to. Who? Madam President asked. Young Midoriya. Everyone stared. The kid? Mirko said incredulously. He's 16. He's also one of the most empathetic people I've ever met, All Might countered. And he has experience with villains who think they're heroes. If anyone can get through to Homelander, understand how he thinks? Absolutely not, Endeavor cut in. We're not sending a student against him. I'm not suggesting he fight, All Might clarified. I'm suggesting he talk, observe, maybe find the human buried under all that power and ego. He paused. Or confirm that there isn't one. The discussion continued late into the night, but eventually, reluctantly, they agreed. They'd bring in Midoriya as a consultant with strict parameters and safety protocols, and they'd start preparing for war, just in case. Deku received the summons the next morning, a private meeting with All Might, Hawks, and Endeavor at the Commission headquarters. His classmates noticed his nervousness, but he couldn't explain. Couldn't tell them he was being asked to profile one of the most dangerous individuals on the planet. The meeting room was intimidating. Large table, holographic displays, walls lined with security measures. Deku sat across from 3 of Japan's greatest heroes, trying not to shake. Young Midoriya, All Might began gently. Thank you for coming. We need your help with something delicate. They showed him everything. All the footage of Homelander, the psychological profiles, the incident reports. Deku watched with growing horror, his analytical mind cataloging every detail, every micro-expression, every tell. You want me to evaluate him? Deku said when they finished. It wasn't a question. We want you to talk to him, Hawks clarified. You've got a gift for reading people, understanding their motivations. We need to know if Homelander can be reasoned with, or if he's a threat we need to eliminate. Eliminate? The word tasted bitter. You mean kill him? If necessary, Endeavor said firmly. But we're hoping it won't come to that. Hence, you. Deku's mind raced. This was insane. They were asking him, a student, to interview someone who could vaporize him with a glance. But they were also trusting him with something crucial, something that could save lives. I'll do it, he said quietly. But I need a guarantee. If I determine he's a threat, you don't move against him without a solid plan. No suicide missions, no desperate attacks. We do this smart. The heroes exchanged glances. Agreed, All Might said. We won't act without your assessment and a complete strategy. When do I meet him? Tomorrow, Hawk said. We're arranging a publicity event, Homelander meeting with UA students, showing he's committed to the next generation of heroes. You'll have time to observe him up close. And if he realizes what I'm doing? No one answered that question. They didn't have to. If Homelander realized he was being evaluated, being judged, Deku might not make it home. Part 3. The interview. The publicity event was held at UA's main auditorium. Homelander arrived exactly on time, smile bright, cape freshly cleaned. He'd been prepped by his commission handlers. Be charming, be inspirational, show the kids you're one of the good guys. Easy money. Class 1. A sat in the front row, Aizawa positioned strategically behind them. Deku could see the tension in his teacher's posture, ready to activate erasure the second anything went wrong. Homelander took the stage, and the applause was polite. Not the thunderous adoration he was used to. These kids had grown up with All Might as their symbol. They'd been taught that heroes were selfless, sacrificing, compassionate. He'd have to work for their worship. Hey there, future heroes, Homelander's voice boomed. I know I'm the new guy around here, and I know you've got some pretty big shoes to fill with All Might retiring. He paused for effect. But that's okay, because between you and me, I think your generation might be even better. That got some murmurs of interest. See, where I come from, we didn't have hero schools. You were either born with powers or you weren't. Simple as that. But here, you've got training, mentorship, support. You've got a system designed to help you be your best selves. His smile widened. So I'm excited to see what you all become. Maybe one day, one of you will even be strong enough to give me a real challenge. It was meant to sound inspiring. It came across as condescending. Bakugo's hands sparked, Todoroki's eyes narrowed, and Deku watched the micro-expressions. The way Homelander's smile tightened when the applause wasn't loud enough. The flash of irritation when Aizawa didn't clap at all. The calculating look he gave the students, not seeing future heroes, but potential threats or tools. After the speech, there was a casual meet and greet. Students could ask questions, take photos, interact with the guest hero. Most kept their distance, but Deku, swallowing his fear, approached. Mr. Homelander, can I ask you something? Homelander looked down at the green-haired kid with the nervous energy. Something about him was familiar. Oh, right. He'd been there when that explosive brat challenged him. Sure, kid. What's on your mind? What made you want to become a hero? The question should have been easy. Homelander had answered it 1,000,000 times. But something about the way this kid asked it, with those intense green eyes watching so carefully, made him pause. Someone had to, Homelander said finally, defaulting to a safe answer. I had the power, so I used it to help people. Pretty straightforward. But you could have done anything, Deku pressed gently. With your abilities, you could have been rich, famous, powerful without being a hero. So why choose this path specifically? Homelander's eye twitched. This kid was good, not just good, unnervingly perceptive. Because it's the right thing to do, he said, voice taking on an edge. Why all the questions? You writing a report or something? Just curious, Deku said, not backing down despite his obvious fear. I've studied heroes my whole life, analyzed their choices, their motivations, and I've learned that the best heroes aren't just powerful. They're empathetic. They genuinely care about the people they save. So I'm wondering, what does saving people feel like for you? The auditorium had gone quiet. Everyone was listening now. Homelander's smile remained frozen on his face, but his eyes had gone cold. Feels good, real good, knowing I made a difference, saved lives, stopped the bad guys. That's what it's all about, right? Right, Deku agreed. But he'd seen the hesitation, the way Homelander had to think about the answer instead of feeling it. One more question, if that's okay. Shoot. Have you ever failed to save someone? The temperature in the room dropped. Homelander's perfect facade cracked, just for a second, and something dark peeked through. No, he said flatly. I've never failed. Really? Never? Deku's tone was gentle, not accusatory. Because I think every hero has. I've read All Might's interviews. He talks about the people he couldn't save, how they haunt him, motivate him. Endeavor has admitted his failures too. It's what makes them human, what drives them to be better. Well, I'm not like them, Homelander snapped. Then, realizing his tone, forced the smile back. What I mean is, I've been lucky. Right place, right time. Haven't had to deal with that kind of loss yet. Yet, Deku repeated softly. So you think it's inevitable? That you'll eventually fail? I think this conversation is over. Homelander's eyes began to glow. Not a lot, just a hint, a warning. Thanks for the questions, kid. Real thought-provoking, but I've got other people to meet. He walked away, leaving Deku standing there, mind racing with everything he'd learned. Because Homelander had lied. The way his heartbeat had spiked when asked about failure, the micro-expression of rage when challenged, the immediate deflection. All of it pointed to someone who had failed, had let people die, and couldn't cope with it. Or worse, someone who had never cared enough to try in the first place. That evening, Deku met with the heroes again to deliver his assessment. He's dangerous, Deku said without preamble. Not just because of his power, but because he lacks empathy. Real empathy, not the performance of it. Explain, Endeavor demanded. Deku pulled up his notes. When I asked him about becoming a hero, he defaulted to generic answers. When I pressed about what saving people feels like, he had to think about it instead of having an immediate emotional response. And when I asked about failure, he paused. He became defensive, hostile even. That's not normal hero behavior. So he's a narcissist, Hawk said. We knew that. It's worse than narcissism, Deku corrected. I think he's a sociopath. He doesn't feel genuine connection to people. To him, we're either assets or obstacles. And the scary part? I don't think he was always like this. All Might leaned forward. What makes you say that? There was pain there, buried deep, but it's there. Something happened to him, maybe in his home dimension, that broke something fundamental. And he's been covering it up with this perfect hero persona for so long that he doesn't know how to be real anymore. Can he be saved? Mirko asked. Reformed? Reasoned with? Deku was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. Maybe. But it would take someone getting through to him in a way nobody ever has. Showing him genuine compassion, human connection, making him care. He looked up. And I don't think we have time for that. Because he's escalating. Escalating how? The way he looked at me when I challenged him. At the other students. At you. Deku gestured to Endeavor. He's sizing everyone up, calculating threats, planning for the day he doesn't need our approval anymore. He took a breath. I don't think Homelander is going to stay a hero. I think he's going to do something terrible. Soon. And when he does, we need to be ready. The heroes exchanged grim looks. They'd hoped Midoriya would find something redeemable, a way forward that didn't end in violence. Instead, he'd confirmed their worst fears. "So what do we do?" Hawks asked. "We prepare," Endeavor said, "and we find his weakness before he finds ours." Part 4. The Breaking Point. It took 2 more weeks for everything to fall apart. The trigger was almost laughably simple. A little girl during a rescue operation. Homelander had just stopped a building collapse in downtown Tokyo, saving dozens of workers. The crowd cheered, cameras flashed, and he basked in it. Then a little girl, maybe 7 years old, pushed through the crowd. She looked up at Homelander with huge eyes. "Thank you for saving my daddy," she said, voice tiny. Homelander's smile was automatic. "Just doing my job, sweetheart." She hesitated, then, "Can I hug you?" And something in Homelander's brain just stopped. Physical contact had always been complicated for him. Vaught's lab, Madeline's manipulations, the endless public appearances where people grabbed and touched without permission. He'd learned to tolerate it, to fake enjoying it. But this felt different. This little girl wasn't seeking photos or fame. She genuinely wanted to express gratitude, to connect. And Homelander didn't know how to respond. He forced a laugh. "Sorry, kiddo, got another emergency to get to, but you stay safe, okay?" He flew off before she could react, leaving the little girl standing there, confused and hurt. The cameras caught it all. The weird hesitation, the forced departure, the lack of genuine warmth. And social media exploded. Did Homelander just reject a child's hug? Even villains would have hugged that little girl. What's wrong with this guy? He's not a real hero. He's just playing one. For someone whose entire identity was built on being loved, adored, worshipped, the backlash was devastating. Homelander saw the posts, all of them. His super hearing meant he heard the whispers, the jokes, the criticism. Every word landed like a physical blow to his ego. He'd tried to do everything right, followed their stupid protocols, saved their people, played the perfect hero. And this was how they repaid him, with mockery, criticism. For what? Not hugging some brat? The rage built slowly, like pressure in a volcano. He flew to an empty warehouse district and screamed. Heat vision poured from his eyes, incinerating buildings, vaporizing steel. He ripped through concrete like paper, through cars like toys, destroyed everything around him in a cathartic explosion of fury. When it was over, when he finally calmed down enough to think, Homelander looked at the destruction he'd caused and felt nothing. No guilt, no shame. Just the cold realization that he was done pretending. He returned to the city and flew directly to the Hero Commission headquarters. Didn't land at the entrance, didn't check in with security, just smashed through the wall of Madam President's office like a missile. She barely flinched. "Homelander, we need to discuss." "Shut up." His eyes glowed red. "I'm done. Done with your protocols, your supervision, your bullshit rules. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to make me the #1 hero, give me complete autonomy, and get the fuck out of my way. Or I start making examples." Is that a threat? It's a promise. He floated closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "I could kill everyone in this building in under a minute. You know it. I know it. The only reason you're all still breathing is because I've been playing nice. But that ends today." Madam President's hand moved subtly toward an alarm button. Homelander's heat vision cut through her desk, inches from her fingers. "Don't," he warned. "Don't call for help. Don't try to be a hero. Just give me what I want and nobody gets hurt." "We'll never bow to a tyrant?" "Tyrant?" Homelander laughed. "I'm not a tyrant. I'm a god. And you people need to start treating me like one." Alarms blared. Heroes were already mobilizing. Homelander could hear them, Endeavor shouting orders, Hawks coordinating aerial support, dozens of pro-heroes converging on the building. "Your funeral," Homelander said, and smashed through another wall, emerging into open air just as the heroes arrived. Endeavor came in hot, flames at maximum, backed by Mirko, Best Jeanist, Gang Orca, and 20 other pros. They formed a perimeter around Homelander, ready for war. "Stand down," Endeavor commanded. "This is your last warning." Homelander spread his arms wide. "Or what? You'll fight me? All of you together might last 5 minutes, maybe 10 if you're lucky." His smile was manic now, unhinged. "But sure, let's dance. Show me what Japan's heroes are really made of." What followed was less a battle and more a massacre. Homelander didn't kill. He'd trained himself too well for that, but he broke them. One by one, he dismantled Japan's finest heroes with contemptuous ease. Endeavor's flames? Annoying at best. He tanked Prominence Burn point blank and laughed. Mirko's kicks? He caught her leg mid-strike and threw her through 2 buildings. She survived, but barely. Best? Jeanist's fiber control? He shredded through the threads with heat vision and punched the hero into unconsciousness. Gang Orca's sound waves? Briefly disorienting, until Homelander adapted and returned fire with sonic claps that shattered windows for blocks. Every hero who challenged him fell. Not dead. Homelander was still playing hero in his twisted mind, but defeated, humiliated, broken. He stood in the ruins, surrounded by fallen heroes, and addressed the cameras he knew were watching. "This is what happens when you challenge me," he announced. "I gave you all a chance to do this the easy way, to respect what I am, what I can do for you, but you chose defiance." He picked up Endeavor's unconscious form like a rag doll. "So, here's the new deal. I'm in charge now. Japan, the Hero Commission, all of it. And anyone who has a problem with that can end up like Flame Daddy here." He dropped Endeavor and turned to fly away. That's when the gunshot rang out. Not a bullet. Something else. Something that punched through his costume and embedded in his shoulder. Homelander roared in pain, actual pain, and spun to see Snipe, smoking rifle in hand, looking shocked that his shot had landed. "How did you—" Homelander ripped the projectile out. It was glowing with some kind of energy, designed by support class students based on every bit of data they'd collected about him. A weapon specifically engineered to penetrate his invulnerability, even if just barely. "You fucking shot me," Homelander said quietly. "You actually hurt me." Snipe reloaded. "Gonna do more than hurt you if you don't." Heat vision, not the precise beams Homelander usually used, full power. A wave of pure destructive energy that Snipe barely dodged, leaving a trench carved through the street where he'd been standing. "I'm done playing," Homelander snarled, shoulder already healing. "You want a real monster? I'll give you one." His eyes glowed brighter than they ever had before, preparing to unleash hell when Detroit smash. The punch came from his blind spot, carrying every ounce of power All Might's successor could muster. One for all, at 100%, thrown with perfect technique, landing squarely on Homelander's jaw. For the first time since arriving in this dimension, Homelander actually moved from an attack. He skidded back several feet, stunned, and looked up to see Midoriya standing there, body crackling with green lightning, arm broken from the recoil, but eyes blazing with determination. "You're not a hero," Deku said, voice carrying despite his injuries. "And you're not a god. You're just a bully with powers, and we're going to stop you." Behind him, the students of Class 1A emerged from cover. Bakugo, Todoroki, Ida, Uraraka, Tokoyami, all of them ready to fight. Homelander touched his jaw where Deku had hit him, feeling the slight soreness there. Then he started laughing. Not the practiced PR laugh. The genuine article. Unhinged, slightly hysterical. "Oh, this is perfect," he said. "The kids want to play hero. Fine, let's see how you do." He flew at them like a missile. Part 5. The Unholy Alliance. What Homelander didn't know, what nobody knew, was that the Commission had been making desperate preparations since Deku's assessment. They'd reached out to every possible resource, every potential ally, no matter how unlikely, including Tartarus Prison. Deep in the most secure facility in Japan, Madam President stood before a cell that was more vault than room. Inside, connected to dozens of life support systems, sat the villain who had nearly destroyed their world. All for one. "You're desperate," the villain observed, his voice carrying despite his injuries. "To come to me." "Homelander has defeated our top heroes," Madam President said bluntly. "He's more powerful than anything we've ever encountered, and he's unstable. If we don't stop him, he'll kill thousands, maybe millions. And you want me to help." All for One chuckled. "What makes you think I won't simply escape and make things worse?" "Because you're practical, and because Homelander is a threat to you too." She pulled up footage of the battle. "He's not from this world. His powers don't come from quirks, which means you can't steal them, can't replicate them, can't control him." That got All for One's attention. "He's an anomaly," Madam President continued, "a wild card, and the moment he's done with heroes, he'll come for villains next, because people like him don't share power. They take it." All for One was quiet for a long moment, analyzing, calculating. Finally, "What are you proposing?" "A temporary alliance. You help us stop Homelander, and in return..." She took a breath. "We reduce your sentence. Not freedom, but better conditions. Access to books, limited sensory privileges, small comforts." "That's all? No freedom? No pardon?" "You nearly destroyed civilization. You'll never walk free. But this is the best offer you'll get." All for One smiled. "Tell me, have you asked my successor what he thinks of this plan?" "Shigaraki is..." "Not Tamura," All for One interrupted. "My other student, the hero who carries the Reaper's quirk. Young Aizawa would have opinions about releasing even a fraction of my power." "Aizawa isn't making this call. I am." "Then you're more desperate than I thought." All for One stood, chains rattling. "But very well. I'll help, on one condition." "What?" "After this is done, I want to meet young Midoriya again. A conversation, supervised, brief. But I want to see how far my brother's quirk has developed. Call it professional curiosity." Madam President hesitated. Deku would hate this, but they needed every advantage. Agreed. The battle in downtown Musutafu had been going on for 10 minutes, and Class 1A was losing. It wasn't even close. Bakugo's explosions barely scratched him. Todoroki's ice shattered against his skin. Tokoyami's dark shadow, even at full strength, couldn't pierce his defense. Every attack they threw, Homelander brushed aside like gnats, and he was barely trying. "Come on!" Homelander taunted, dodging one of Ida's kicks without looking. "I thought UA was supposed to produce the best heroes. You're all disappointing me here." Deku coordinated from the center, shouting strategies, trying to find an opening. But Homelander was too fast, too strong, too everything. They needed backup, needed the pros to recover, needed... A dark laugh echoed across the battlefield. Everyone froze. Heroes and students alike recognized that sound. It was the laugh of nightmares, of trauma, of Japan's darkest hour. All for One stepped into view, no longer contained, wearing a modified combat suit. Madam President stood beside him, along with a squadron of armed guards. "What the fuck?" Bakugo shouted. "You let that monster out?" "Temporary alliance," Madam President announced. "Desperate times." All for One tilted his head toward Homelander, analyzing. "Fascinating. I can't sense any quirks in you. Nothing at all. You're a biological anomaly." Homelander looked between the villain and the heroes, putting it together. "Hold on. You're teaming up with a bad guy to stop me? That's rich, really fucking rich." "You've proven yourself the greater threat," All for One said simply. "And I don't appreciate competition." "Competition?" Homelander laughed. "Old man, you're not competition, you're a relic. Watch." He moved faster than anyone could track, appeared behind All for One, and threw a punch designed to shatter steel. All for One caught it. For the first time since arriving in this dimension, Homelander's attack was completely stopped. He strained against All for One's grip, shock evident on his face. "Impossible," Homelander breathed. "I've been stealing quirks for over a century," All for One explained calmly. "Strength enhancement, durability, kinetic redistribution, impact nullification. I have dozens of powers designed to match beings like you." He twisted, and Homelander actually felt his wrist strain. "But you're right about one thing. You're stronger than me. In a straightforward fight, you'd win. Eventually. Then what's the point?" All for One released his grip and smiled. "The point is to give them time to prepare." Behind Homelander, the heroes and students had regrouped. Endeavor was back on his feet, flames reignited. Hawks had coordinated with Class 1A, forming a strategic perimeter. Even the injured heroes were getting back up, determination overriding pain. "A temporary alliance," All for One announced to everyone. "Until this threat is neutralized, then we return to our regularly scheduled conflict." "Are you insane?" Mirko shouted. "We can't trust him." "You don't have to trust me," All for One replied. "You just have to be practical. This American monster will kill you all without remorse. I, at least, have standards." "Standards?" Homelander spat. "You're all fucking hypocrites. You spend years fighting each other. But the moment someone actually powerful shows up, you team up? That's pathetic." "No," Deku said, stepping forward despite his injuries. "That's heroism. Setting aside differences to protect people. You wouldn't understand that because you've never actually protected anyone but yourself." Homelander's face twisted with rage. "I've saved thousands of people. For the cameras, for the glory, for the worship." Deku's voice was sad rather than accusatory. "But you've never saved someone just because it was right, have you?" The question hung in the air, and for just a moment, Homelander's mask slipped completely. Behind the anger, behind the ego, everyone saw the truth. A broken, lonely person who'd never known genuine connection, never understood real heroism. Then the mask snapped back, harder than ever. "Fuck all of you," Homelander snarled. "I don't need your validation. I don't need anyone. I'm Homelander. I'm perfect. And I'm going to show you exactly what that means." His eyes began to glow with lethal intent. "Everyone scatter," Aizawa shouted, finally arriving on scene, quirk ready to activate. But before Homelander could unleash hell, before All for One could counter, before the battle could resume, the sky tore open again. Another portal, identical to the one Homelander arrived through, crackling with unstable energy. And from it emerged a figure that made everyone's blood run cold. Another Homelander. Except this one looked different. Older, more worn. His costume was damaged, cape tattered, and his eyes held something the first Homelander lacked entirely. Regret. "Stop," the newcomer said quietly. His voice was Homelander's voice, but without the ego, without the rage. Just exhausted. "Who the fuck are you?" the original Homelander demanded. "I'm you," the other one replied, "from 5 years in the future, and I'm here to show you where this path leads." Part 6. The Truth Unveiled. The battlefield had gone completely silent. Two Homelanders stood facing each other while heroes, villains, and students watched in stunned disbelief. "This is a trick," the younger Homelander said, but there was uncertainty in his voice. "Some shapeshifter, some clone." "It's not." Future Homelander's voice was hollow. "I know what you're thinking right now, that these people are beneath you, that they don't understand what it's like to be this powerful, this alone, that they'll never appreciate you the way you deserve." He took a step closer. "I thought the same thing, and it destroyed everything." "Bullshit." "I killed them." Future Homelander gestured to the heroes. "All of them. Everyone who challenged me, everyone who looked at me wrong, everyone who didn't worship the ground I walked on. I became exactly what they feared. And you know what I got for it. Silence. Nothing." Future Homelander continued. "Because fear isn't love. Terror isn't admiration. I ruled through power, and I was more alone than ever." His eyes, so similar yet so different from the younger version, held genuine pain. "I'm here to stop you from making the same mistake. Why should I believe anything you say? Because I can prove it." Future Homelander raised his hands, showing old scars that the younger version didn't have. "You see these? I got them fighting the League of Villains 5 years from now. They developed a weapon specifically to hurt us, a quirk eraser bullet laced with something from another dimension, something that could actually harm us." He pulled out a vial containing a single bullet. The younger Homelander's eyes widened in recognition. It looked exactly like the one Snipe had shot him with, only refined, perfected. "In my timeline, they waited until I'd destroyed all opposition. Then they used this. It didn't kill me, but it weakened me enough for them to seal me away." Future Homelander's voice cracked. "I've spent 3 years in containment, alone, with nothing but my regrets. And when this portal opened, when I saw a chance to change things, I took it." "So what?" the younger Homelander said, voice dripping with scorn. "You're here to reform me, make me weak like them? I'm here to save you from yourself." "I don't need saving." "Yes, you do." Future Homelander's composure finally broke. "You think you're fine now, but you're not. You haven't been fine since Vaught's lab, since Madeline, since every single person in your life used you, manipulated you, made you believe that power was all that mattered. but it's not. The vulnerability, the raw pain in his voice hit like a shockwave. The younger Homelander took a step back, genuinely rattled. These people, future Homelander gestured to the heroes and students, they're not perfect, they're flawed, and sometimes hypocritical, and they'll disappoint you. But they're genuine. That kid who talked to you, Midoriya, he meant every word. He actually cares about people. Not for glory, not for fame, just because it's right. He turned to Deku, who stood frozen, processing this impossible situation. "Tell him," future Homelander pleaded. "Tell him what you told me, what you said during your assessment." Deku swallowed hard, gathering courage. I said you were dangerous, that you lacked empathy. But I also said," he met the younger Homelander's eyes. "I said you were in pain, that something broke you, and you've been covering it up ever since. And I said that maybe you could be saved, if someone reached you." "That's stupid," younger Homelander said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Is it?" future Homelander challenged. "Or are you scared? Scared that if you let yourself care, let yourself be vulnerable, you'll get hurt again? Like you did in the lab, like you did every time Vought scientists treated you like an experiment instead of a person. Stop. They raised you in isolation, tested you, hurt you, made you believe that love had to be earned through performance, through being perfect." Future Homelander's words came faster now, desperate. "But that's not love. That's conditioning, and you've been trapped in it ever since." Younger Homelander's hands were shaking. His perfect facade was crumbling in real time, years of suppressed trauma surfacing. "I hate them," he whispered. "Everyone who hurt me, everyone who used me. I know. I just wanted someone to care. Actually care. I know. And instead I became the thing they made me. The weapon. The monster." "You're not a monster," future Homelander said gently. "You're a person who was never taught how to be a person. But it's not too late. You can choose differently." The younger Homelander looked around at the assembled heroes and students, saw fear in their eyes. Yes, but also hope? Compassion? Deku was watching him with something that looked like empathy. Even Bakugo, aggressive as ever, had lowered his hands. "I don't know how," younger Homelander admitted, voice breaking. "I don't know how to be anything else." "Then let them teach you," future Homelander said. "That's what heroes do. They help people, even people like us." All for One watched this exchange with calculating eyes. This was an opportunity. Two Homelanders, one vulnerable, one experienced. If he could manipulate this situation correctly. "Don't even think about it," Aizawa said quietly, quirk activated, eyes locked on the villain. All for One smiled. "I wasn't thinking anything, though I'll admit, this is fascinating. I've never seen psychological manipulation work quite this effectively." "It's not manipulation," All Might said, having arrived during the confrontation. "It's honesty. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't force, it's truth." The younger Homelander slowly descended to ground level, landing among the heroes rather than above them. Symbolic. "If I tried," he said hesitantly, "if I actually tried to be better, would you help me?" The heroes exchanged glances. Madam President stepped forward. "We'd give you a chance," she said carefully. "But there would be conditions. Therapy, real therapy, not PR counseling, constant monitoring, restricted autonomy until you prove yourself, and most importantly, accountability for everything you've done." I hurt people, younger Homelander said quietly. During that battle, the hostages I didn't save, the heroes I injured today. Yes, Madam President agreed, and you'll have to face that, make amends. It won't be easy. Nothing ever is. He looked at his future self. What happens to you? I go back, future Homelander said. To my timeline, my consequences, but knowing I changed things here, that's enough. Wait, Deku interjected. You came through dimensions to save yourself. Doesn't that mean you're already different from who you were? Future Homelander smiled, a genuine smile, small and sad. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just finally doing one thing right. He turned to the younger version. Don't waste this chance. Don't end up like me. The portal began to pulse, unstable, ready to close. One more thing, future Homelander said. That kid, Midoriya, listen to him. He's got something we never had. He understands what it means to be powerless and powerful. Learn from that. The younger Homelander nodded slowly. Future Homelander stepped toward the portal, then paused. Oh, and all for one? The villain raised an eyebrow. In my timeline, you tried to use my vulnerability to manipulate me. Didn't work. But you did manage to kill Endeavor and Hawks before I ripped you in half. Future Homelander's smile turned cold. Just something to consider before you get any ideas here. All for One's expression didn't change, but everyone saw him reassess the situation. Future Homelander stepped through the portal. It sealed behind him with a sound like a sigh. The younger Homelander stood alone, surrounded by people who'd just been his enemies, processing everything that had just happened. So, Bakugo said, finally, breaking the silence. Are we just ignoring the fact that time-traveling alternate dimension you shows up and everyone acts like that's normal? Bakugo, Ida hissed. Read the room. But it broke the tension. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Homelander looked at them all. Really looked, maybe for the first time. Saw the injuries he'd caused, the fear, but also the resilience. These people had faced him at his worst and still offered a chance at redemption. I don't deserve this, he said quietly. Probably not, Mirko agreed, nursing a broken arm. But that's not the point. Heroes don't help people because they deserve it. We do it because it's right. What now? Homelander asked. Now, Madam President said. We debrief. We explain what happened to the public, and we figure out how to move forward, together. And me? All for One asked, still surrounded by guards. Back to Tartarus, Madam President said firmly. But, thank you for your help today. All for One chuckled. Don't thank me yet. After all, I still get my conversation with young Midoriya. That was our deal. Deku's blood ran cold, but he nodded. A deal was a deal. As everyone began to disperse, as medical teams arrived to treat the wounded, as news helicopters descended to capture the aftermath, Homelander stood in the center of it all, lost, confused, but for the first time in his life. Hopeful. Epilogue. Redemption's price. 3 months later. Homelander sat in a therapy session at UA's medical facility, Dr. Hound Dog across from him. The dog-headed hero specialized in psychological trauma, and he'd been working with Homelander twice a week since the incident. How are you feeling about today? Hound Dog asked. Nervous, Homelander admitted. Today was his first supervised patrol since the incident. Small scale, low risk, but still. What if I mess up? What if I hurt someone again? Then you'll deal with the consequences and learn from it, Hound Dog replied. That's What accountability means. You're not going to be perfect, Homelander. No one is. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Homelander nodded slowly. He'd heard this 100 times, but it still felt alien. Accepting imperfection, allowing himself to fail. I had the dream again, he said quietly. About the lab, about being alone. And what did you do? I used the technique you taught me. Reminded myself that was then, this is now, that I'm not alone anymore. He gestured around. I've got people, sort of, maybe. It's still weird. Good weird or bad weird? Both. Homelander smiled slightly. Midoriya checks on me, like actually checks on me, not for surveillance. He genuinely wants to know how I'm doing. It's nice. Unsettling, but nice. And the other students? Bakugo still wants to fight me, but now it's more like competition than hatred. Todoroki's been teaching me about ice control, using precise temperature manipulation with heat vision. Uraraka is… He paused. Friendly. Really friendly. I don't know what to do with that. Hound Dog's tail wagged slightly. You're making connections, real ones. That's significant progress. A knock at the door. Deku poked his head in. Sorry to interrupt, but your patrol assignment just came through. You're with me, Bakugo, and Todoroki. Downtown district, low-level villain activity expected. Homelander stood, straightening his modified costume. Less flashy now, more practical. He still had the American flag theme, but toned down. Humble. How do I look? He asked, and the vulnerability in the question would have been unthinkable 3 months ago. Like a hero, Deku said simply. They walked through UA's halls together. Students still stared, still whispered, but the tone had shifted. Homelander was the school's project now. Everyone knew he was there learning how to be better. You ready for this? Deku asked as they met up with Bakugo and Todoroki. No, Homelander admitted. But I'm doing it, anyway. That counts for something, right? It counts for everything, Todoroki said quietly. Even Bakugo grunted approval. Just don't laser anyone's face off and we'll call it a win. They headed out into the city. Homelander flew lower than usual, staying close to his team rather than dominating from above. When they encountered a villain, minor league, shoplifting with a duplication quirk, Homelander held back, let the students take the lead. You could take him in 2 seconds, Bakugo observed as they cornered the villain. Yeah, Homelander agreed, but this isn't about me proving I'm strongest. It's about us working together, like a team. He said it awkwardly, like someone learning a new language, but he said it. The takedown went smoothly. No excessive force, no civilian casualties, no property damage. Textbook hero work. And when the cameras showed up, when reporters tried to ask Homelander for quotes, he deferred to Deku. He's the lead on this operation. Homelander said, ask him. Small victories, baby steps toward being something better. That evening, back at UA, Homelander sat in the common room with some of the Class 1A students. They were watching a hero analysis show, discussing techniques and strategies. Normal teenage hero student stuff. Homelander mostly listened. He wasn't good at normal conversation yet. But he was trying. Hey, Kirishima said suddenly. We're doing movie night tomorrow. You want to join? Everyone tensed slightly. It was the first time someone had casually invited Homelander to something social. What movie? Homelander asked cautiously. Action film. Lots of explosions. Nothing deep. Yeah, okay. That sounds nice. The tension broke. Conversation resumed. and Homelander realized he was smiling. A real smile, not the plastic PR version. It felt strange. Good strange. His phone buzzed, a message from future Homelander. They'd managed to maintain contact across dimensions through some support class, technology. The messages were brief, limited, but consistent. "How's it going?" the text read. Homelander typed back. "Better. Slowly, but better." "Good. Keep going. It gets easier." "Does it?" "Not really, but you get stronger at handling it. That's what matters." Homelander pocketed his phone and returned to the conversation. Kaminari was arguing with Bakugo about optimal explosion patterns. Uraraka was showing Tsuyu something on her phone. Normal teenager stuff. He'd never been a normal teenager, never had this. But maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to learn. Far away in Tartarus prison, All for One sat in his cell, thinking about everything that had transpired. The American superhuman, the dimensional breach, the unprecedented alliance. He'd learned valuable information about Homelander's weaknesses, about dimensional travel, about the cracks in hero society that would allow them to ally with him. The conversation with Midoriya had been enlightening too. The boy was growing stronger, more confident. Soon he'd be a real threat. But All for One was patient. He'd been playing the long game for over a century. This was just one more piece moving into position. "You're thinking too hard," a voice said. Shigaraki, or rather, a communicator that connected them. "What did you learn?" "That even the most powerful beings can be broken by loneliness," All for One replied. "And that heroes are predictable. They'll always choose hope over pragmatism." "So we use that against them?" "Eventually, but not yet. Let them think they've won. Let Homelander think he's been saved." All for One smiled in the darkness. "And when they're comfortable, when they've lowered their guard, then we move." "What about the dimensional technology?" "Being studied as we speak, if we can replicate it." He trailed off, but the implications were clear. Access to other dimensions meant access to other quirks, other powers, other resources. The game was just beginning. But in Yue's common room, unaware of distant machinations, Homelander laughed at something Kaminari said. A genuine laugh, rusty from disuse, but real. Deku watched from the doorway, smile on his face. This was why he wanted to be a hero. Not to defeat villains, but to save people. Even people like Homelander, who seemed beyond saving. "Thinking deep thoughts?" Todoroki asked, joining him. "Just hoping we made the right call," Deku admitted. "Trusting him, giving him this chance." "We did. Look at him. He's trying." "Yeah. But what if he backslides? What if the old Homelander comes back?" "Then we'll handle it. Together." Todoroki's voice was confident. That's what heroes do. They rejoined the group, and for that night at least everything was good. No villains, no crises, no dimensional tears. Just students being students, and one former monster learning what it meant to be human. The road ahead was long. Homelander would stumble. He'd have bad days, make mistakes, struggle with his conditioning and trauma. Redemption wasn't a single moment. It was a lifetime of choices. But for the first time in his existence, he was choosing to try. And in a world of heroes and villains, sometimes that's the most heroic thing of all.